hi, I'm Trishia. I graduated from Kwantlen in 2011, just recently actually. And I had the honor to do an honors degree in psychology. My supervisor was Dr. Daniel Bernstein, and I attribute much of my success to the support that I received, not only through him, but through the entire department. I actually probably at some point thought that my chances of getting into grad school into psychology were pretty slim, and it's through the continuous support of the psychology department at Kwantlen that I got into. I'm currently in the forensic psychology program at SFU. It's a fantastic program. I look at witness credibility, particularly children, adolescent credibility when they're testifying in court. I just started on an eye tracking project and eyewitness identification, so I'm doing some really great research that I'm really interested in. I started about a year ago, beginning of the year last year, so September, I started my master's. I'm hoping to defend my thesis in April, so I've moved through it quite quickly, and I just finished off over half of my practicum. So I actually feel like I've done a lot, and I don't particularly like talking about myself unless it means that I feel I'm sharing something that could be useful or helpful to other students. I also attribute my adjustment or the success in my adjustment to the fact that I had really good funding, which goes back to it. I had a really good supervisor. And sometime in December, when I had just finished my GREs and I was applying to grad school and I'm doing my honors, and I have 3 children, I was in his office saying, I cannot apply for short funding. I just am exhausted. I can't do it. And he said to me, Trishia, this is so important. You really need to apply. And I did. And I got funding, and he was the first person I emailed, and he said, thank you very much. And this isn't, it deals with some of those financial issues, because a lot of people that I talk to, they think about not going to grad school, and quite often the reason is financial. So I had good grades in my last couple of years, and I had pretty high GRE scores, but I don't consider myself a perfect student. I didn't have a single presentation at a conference yet when I handed in my application. I had great reference letters, I'm sure, and I had some research experience, but I don't think that I had the perfect application. I think I had some strengths. So my message that I bring is that this isn't something that you should not consider. This is something that every student who meets the general requirements and then has some strengths in some areas should consider, because if you're going to grad school, it's going to definitely help with the adjustment, and it could, as I found out, actually help you to get into grad school. So I have like lots of slides here. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my transitions from Kwantlen and into SFU, and then I'm gonna focus mostly on funding and how that can help. So some of the changes that I experienced and probably wasn't expecting was simply a matter of convenience. I actually was going to Kwantlen in 2000. I'm a long-term Kwantlen student, so I remember the cheap tuition fees. I'm familiar with an easy commute. This is my current commute that I take every day across the Portland Bridge to SFU, and this is what it looks like every morning. I leave 2 hours earlier than what time I have to be there at to make sure that I can get there. So it was something that I didn't even think about when I was going to grad school. There is additional financial consideration. So I paid over $500 a semester for my first semester of parking. I'm now parking further away, and I'm paying $300 a semester, and it's still a little bit of a hike, but it's something that at Kwantlen we pay, I think, $130, and we don't think about that. Increased fuel and tuition. You pay tuition every semester, whether or not you're taking courses, so that's something else that you need to consider. If you're just working on your thesis, you'll be paying full tuition. So there is definitely some increased financial burdens. You have increased workload. You might take about 3 courses. That's what I took in my first semester. You have increased lab commitment. I think I'm in the lab 30 hours a week. And that isn't just looking at my thesis research. That's doing extra lab work. that's getting adjusted to a new area that you're working in. You'd be working on your thesis research, you might be TAing, and you could be doing a practicum. So I've been doing a practicum this semester on top of my courses and such. So some of the funding considerations are to TA. TA pays enough to cover your tuition and some cost of living. It's okay, but it's about 15 hours extra that you need to tack on to your week. And it's not evenly split, like when a midterm comes off, you're going to have to set everything on the slide and get that marked and back in time. You could RA in somebody else's lab. I find that those positions are less available. And you can get scholarships. But if you can get a Tri-Council award, it's probably the best way to secure your funding for your master's. The one I'm going to talk about is SHRC. It probably applies to most people in this room. It's the one that I managed to obtain. It's when your research really looks at general knowledge of individuals or groups, so just basic social sciences, humanities research. If you're doing hardcore underlying mechanisms like cognition or neuroscience, you're going to want to apply to NSERC. And then if you're doing things that ultimately impact human health, you need to apply to CIHR. So one important tip is you have to get this right. If you apply to the wrong funding agency, your application will most likely be eliminated. So if in doubt, you can email SHRC. If you don't think your research qualifies for SHRC, email them and say this is my research, and they will supposedly give that back to you. So this is what SHRC suggests. Proposed research must be primarily in social sciences and humanities. And the intended outcome of research is to add to our understanding and knowledge of individuals. This is what the master's one is called. It's the Joseph Armand Bombardier Scholarship. It's $17,500. So it's a substantial amount of money. It's paid out to you over 1 year. So if you're going to take 2 years for your master's, just remember that that money you're getting every 2 weeks has got to last you the next year as well. So it's not renewable. So once you use that 1 year up, you're done. The direct deadline is December 13th. Somebody told me that you can't apply directly anymore. I haven't heard of that. When I was at Kwantlen, I applied directly, so I didn't go to anyone in the research office or anything like that. I just sent my application straight to SHRC. And the university deadline is February the 4th, 2013 coming up. So be careful, because if you're going to go through the university, that's the university's deadline. It's not your deadline to the university. So for me, I'm applying for my PhD one now, and my deadline is November the 2nd. So if you are planning on applying for SHRC this year, it's something that you want to work on now. So obviously there's benefits. Decreased need for other funding such as TA, so I didn't have to TA in my first year, and it was a huge help for me. It also increases the chances of receiving other scholarships. So because I had received a SHRC, I also got a Provost Prize through SFU, which was an additional $5,000. So right then and there, I'm up to $22,500, and you only qualified for that if you were coming in with a Tri-Council's award. But I am kind of here to promote the benefits of applying before you go to grad school. So you can apply once you get there for your second year and have that funding in place for the second year of your master's. But I endorse applying beforehand because it decreases the need to apply while you're in your program and adjusting to grad school. So if you've already got your SHRC, obviously that's a benefit. It increases your chances of being selected. So if you wait to apply, you will be applying with everybody in your cohort or everybody in the master's program at the university. All the applications go to the Dean of Graduate Studies, and then they screen them. They have criteria. So I do know of people that didn't make it out of the actual university when they were in their master's degree. So when I applied before grad school, I didn't have to deal with that additional criteria. You have a later deadline, so mine's November 2nd. Applying ahead of time, it's December 13th. Thanks. I'm going to try and get through most of this, but I probably won't. It also increases your chances of getting into grad school. So this was a real surprise to me. I wanted very much to stay in Vancouver. I knew it was really competitive. I had one supervisor at UBC and one supervisor at SFU that I had kind of selected to work with. And the supervisor at UBC said said to me, we had talked that I had applied for funding, but I didn't know, and she said, oh, well, I'm glad that you have, because if you hadn't, I would have questioned you as to why you hadn't. So it was kind of a hint that some potential supervisors are expecting that you've looked into funding and you've tried to secure funding in order to get it. And as well, if you don't get it before going into grad school, you can still apply, so you're actually increasing your chances because you get 2 shots at it. So some of the tips I'll go through quickly. Start early. You can start your application online. So you can go home and you can start it today, and your application never actually goes to SSHRC. It's just like a working thing, and then when you're all done, there's like a check-off list, and you print everything and mail it to them. So you can start now. And a couple of things that you'll get are, you'll get the reference letter forms that you need. It's a good idea that if you're applying this year, you are talking to the people who are giving you your references right now, because you want to give them lots of time to write a good letter, and you don't want to spring it on them when they're really busy. One of your references should be research related if you can do that. You're going to need all your transcripts, so if you're like me and went to a few different institutions, you want to order those now so that they're all in. You need absolutely all your post-secondary transcripts, so even if it's some college that you attended in Alberta and you think is not important, they will think it's important, so you need to send those in. And your program of study, which is your 2-page research idea, you want to start that now as well. So those are a few things that you can start early. A good way to go about it is just start asking anyone you know that's ever applied if you can read theirs. Get some examples. And I always tell people they can email me and I will send them my application and they can read what I put. Follow the instructions really carefully because I have learned this is an easy elimination. So if you don't use the Times Roman and the 12-point font with the 1-inch margins, it's gone. It's just, you don't even make it through the first level. So make sure that you're meticulous about those instructions. Final few tips on your program of study, because I feel that's where most students have a hard time. Get some examples. Do something that you're familiar with. So don't go out and do what you think you really want to do for your master's thesis. Do something kind of in between. Do something that you know the methodology, that you can talk about methodology. You will look like a more competent researcher. You don't have to do, I applied for some perspective-taking research, and now I'm doing research on child witness credibility. So you don't, for your master's, you do not have to have in your write-up what you exactly think you're going to be doing during your master's. And have at least 2 people edit it. I guess that's kind of self-explanatory. But make your research relevant. So this is something that I think actually helped me acquire funding. When I sent my application probably about 5 days before the deadline for Dr. Danny Bernstein to review, he was so kind and he said, I realize that your proposal is due and you're trying to apply to grad school, and he goes, this needs a whole lot more work. And I don't know where you're going to find it, but you need to go home, you need to spend at least 24 more hours on it. And I did. I probably had a little cry about it, and then I went and I worked on it. And he pointed out that, not everyone's going to care about hindsight bias, and that's what I was applying to do because, to them, it's not necessarily even a psychology researcher. They don't know about hindsight bias. You need to make your research relevant. You need to make it relevant to almost anybody that could be sitting in this room. So that's what I did. I tried, even though I was looking at really kind of micro-cognitive process, I tried my best to make it applicable to real-world issues. I think I'm actually on my last slide. Yeah, conclusion. So these are the criteria, grades. Okay, you need to have, I think, a minimum of 3.5. Reference letters, research experience, so any presentations you've ever done, and program of study. But my take-home message is that 2 things, is that if you have strengths in any of these areas, please try to apply. Because I definitely had some weaknesses in some of those areas and had some strengths, and I managed to obtain one, so I think it's possible for anyone who meets the general criteria to receive funding. And as well, set aside the time now, even if you're tired and you're busy, to apply for funding before you get to grad school, because it will really, really help with that adjustment to the first year. Thank you.